All right, I do want to show again, if you don't mind, that point in the day, an inflection point, though it might be, when we got news of this and these emails, and regardless of your position, whether this is a crisis for the administration, whether this is worth all the hullabaloo it is getting, it does get in the way of a busy agenda here because, well, we're talking about, others are talking about it, and how this could get in the way. So obviously a lot there. They have to address the debt ceiling. They have to get the health care thing done. They have to get taxes done. They've got a lot to get done. And again, we could be in the middle of who knew what, and it was emailing and texting what and when. So the Wall Street Journal's Shelby Holiday, Turning Points USA founder Charlie Kirk, Fox Business's Jerry Willis. Let's go first, Jerry, on the notion that this is a distraction and nothing more. That's the best Republicans can hope, right?
Do you mean the emails we were just talking about? It's absolutely a distraction. Hopefully they've got this thing right, but who knows? And if this is something more than a distraction, it's a disaster for what they want to get done. If it's not, what is August's distraction? It seems like there's something every single week new that comes up. But I have to tell you, I don't see how this timeline really works. Yeah. There's so many other distracting factors. There's a budget resolution that has to be put in place. That has to be put in place.
And it has to be to clockwork, right? I mean, and that's debatable.
Well, it's almost like the Senate is looking for distractions at this point. I mean, their timeline can be so easily interrupted. They need a break from taking a break because they just got back from taking a break because they needed a break because they didn't do anything. And they now have an August
college years.
Exactly, and then they need an August recess because since doing nothing is so exhausting, they need a break from doing that as well. I mean, look, they have a mandate to do some very big and bold things, and now they're 7 months into their this part of their legislative agenda, and they have maybe a Supreme Court justice to point to. I think the whole culture in D.C. needs to be really reconsidered if they want to stick to this timeline. Health care and tax cuts.
I hear you. You know, Shelby, what's kind of interesting, and we see it played out again and again. Again, whether you argue these emails are bombshells or not, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. But I will say this, that I could see and understand why Wall Street would initially sell off on them and maybe stabilize a little bit right now. The concern is that it gets in the way, right? Everything gets in the way.
And that it's bad for the president's agenda. But it's not just a distraction. These things actually cost lawmakers time. So instead of working on health care, now all these committee members are talking about getting Donald Trump Jr.'s emails and getting to the bottom of it. They're probably already setting up meetings. It does take a lot of time. We saw this in the spring. It's a huge time suck for lawmakers.
It is.
So that's a fear, but it's not necessarily rational that stocks sell off just because it's bad for the president. Doesn't mean the Republican Party is going down in flames. And the president has also used Twitter and other methods on his own to distract lawmakers. So it's hard to say that it's merited.
Put the fear of God into them to get something done. But what if I was thinking, Jerry, this, what if they don't fear him anymore? If they fear that he's more a hindrance than a help, and they don't, regardless of whether anything comes of these latest emails, they fear that he's hurting himself, hurting the party, and they might want to divorce themselves from it.
Well, you know, I've had people make the argument to me that what really needs to happen is this needs to be led by Congress and just get moving, get it done to the degree that you can. But you heard in the interview that you just did with the senator, what they're going to do is they want to put a health care bill on the floor and then open it up to amendments. This will be the first really public conversation on health care we've had in Congress.
But that would be a tough sell, right? Wouldn't it, Charlie? I mean, even if you put everything open and get a lot of amendments going, and I mean, unless votes are there that I don't know are there, and those 10 no votes right now are not firm, then let's make the assumption the Republicans are right that only, 2 of them are necessary, and they'll get those too.
Yeah, it'll be impossible to get to 60, so they have to find a way to get to 51 using reconciliation, and even 51 is now turning to be a huge challenge. So let's say they get to 51, with the amendments that are going to be added in the Democratic games, if they even add one amendment, it's going to have to go back to a process where the House and the Senate and then are going to have to meet, then they're going to have to agree on
something. And they all have to agree on the parlance here, whether it's
at least
part
some
of
equilibrium.
Reconciliation.
Yeah, it has to be some point of equilibrium so the bills can match up. And there's some conference, I think they call it, where it comes together, and then they have to vote on it. It will probably be after the August recess.
Well, the good news for Republicans possibly is that we saw in the CBO score, they have tons of money to work with because this score was so much different from the House. They have lots of money to play with. They have a lot of money to throw at opioid. Yes.
So they can take that money,
make moderates happy, put more money in opioid funding, maybe give more money to Medicaid. Appease moderates. The question is then, how do you appease conservatives? And do you have a bill that just has
what I think, Shelby, what happens is whatever you do to win over moderates, you lose conservatives. So if that is still the case, I don't see maybe 3 or 4 of those 10 changing.
Well, we did see in the House an amendment that gave states more flexibility, did bring everyone together, and that's similar to what Ted Cruz recently proposed in terms of flexibility with insurance companies.
Then what do you guys make of John McCain saying, look, we've got to reach across the aisle and work with them? Susan Collins in Maine has said the same thing.
Something has to give, in my view, because they really can't just let this health care situation ride. It's not tenable. People are getting hurt. They don't have coverage. They can't afford coverage.
But now they're getting the rap for the law that's already on the books now.
They absolutely are, and that was totally predictable. So why didn't they work on this when they could have and put something forward that would make sense?
Working with Democrats.
Why didn't they do it in April?
Working with Democrats will require throwing billions of dollars at the markets to shore them up, and I think that's why Republicans don't want to do that yet, because they know this bill will look a lot more Democratic.
Real quickly, are any of you surprised that the craziness notwithstanding and intraday, the markets have kind of held their own?
It's amazing. This is shocking. But remember, there are fundamentals there.
Yeah.
We're seeing incredible earnings growth. I think 11% in the tech sector this quarter. We're seeing 8% in the rest of the market, S&P 500. There's a real there. And so I think we should be happy about that.
And how you've pointed out, it's actually a tale of 2 markets. Most of the earnings are 6 companies. You know, they're big tech companies. I mean, you look at energy, it's getting killed right now.
But you still have overseas strength, and you have the Fed on track, which gives a lot of investors encouragement.
So the big macro picture, these crazy items notwithstanding, is still pretty solid.
So far.
Knock on.
So far.
Whatever you knock on, that's solid. Guys, thank you very, very much.